thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Alperin. Tonight, the big question, who will win the race to the White House? Let's go live now to the track where the candidates are warming up for the final leg of the showdown. Reporter Dana Rathernot is standing by with the latest. Dana?
The tension is really building. Democrat Grant Old Party and Green Party candidate Mike Wallace know that tonight one of them will be elected the next president of the United States. These candidates have cleared a number of hurdles to make it this far. Let's take a look back. It was just 2 years ago that a crowded field of competitors gathered, one foot ready to step into the race, both eyes on the White House. Those candidates seeking the Republican Party's nomination for president included New Mexico Governor Josh Thompson, Illinois Congressman Jeff No Chance, California Senator Grant Old Party, and business executive May D. Fortune. From the Democrats, our early contenders included former Oregon Governor Barbara Nixon, Nebraska Senator Demi Kratt, and Texas Congressman Slick Oilwell. The early leg of the race was really more of a warm-up lap.
Tax, spend, bid. Tax and spend, bid.
A kind of exploration phase of the election.
Howdy, ma'am. What a lovely child. No matter how ugly, you gotta say they're pretty. Okay.
Our competitors wouldn't actually come out and say they were running for president. Instead, they appeared often on national news shows, gave a lot of speeches, and talked about what they would do if they were president.
What the president needs to do, indeed, what the American people need the president to do, is to stand tall.
These guys are so boring. I'm going to nod. I can nod fast, or I can nod slow.
For the little guy, and show that he cares for him and her.
Now, I'm not president, but if I was, I would change that.
I wonder if I should have an opinion about air.
Liberty and happiness for all.
Oh, is that gum on my shoe? Oh, I hope it's gum.
Now, I'm not president.
My underwear's killing me.
But if I was, I would change that policy and guarantee liberty and happiness for all. Now, I'm not declaring my candidacy or anything.
I wonder if they know that I have no idea what they're talking about.
A new era is dawning in this great nation, a new era that requires new leadership. Now, I'm not saying that new leadership necessarily means me. I'm just saying a new era is dawning. That's all.
Although they looked, sounded, and acted like presidential candidates, none of them wanted to declare their candidacy. It takes millions of dollars to finance a presidential campaign, so the potential candidates spend months exploring the idea. All this means is they are trying to gather support for their campaign before they officially declare they are running for president. By support, we mean raise money. Nobody wants to announce they are running for president, only to find out no one wants them to.
Hey, big money. Grant Old Party here. How are you? Hey, I'm thinking about running for president. Sure. Great. I'll put you on the list, and thanks.
Once the candidates had lined up the backing they needed, America finally heard the candidates say such things as,
After much thought and consideration,
And long talks with family and friends,
I would like to announce my candidacy for
And deepest wish to be the next president
of these great United States.
not all the racers made it through the warm-up lap. Sometimes a candidate just can't find the support needed to launch a political campaign, and they must drop out before they have officially entered.
I'd like to run for president. Anyone want to help me? Anyone? Anyone? Hello? Hello? Is this thing on?
Those who survived the warm-up had no time to savor their victory. By this time it was June, 18 months before the election, and time to start campaigning for their party's presidential nomination. In the beginning, the Republicans were competing only against other Republicans, and Democrats against other Democrats. They were racing to win delegates who would support them at their party's national convention. Green Party candidate Mike Wallace did not have much to do since no one was competing against him for the Green Party's nomination.
Give me an ace!
He could hold off on campaigning until after the primaries and caucuses had established who the Republican and Democratic candidates for president would be.
Yes! I won again. I am the master.
What we've got here is a massive network of volatile voting cells called states. Now, each state is worth a certain number of delegates to the Republican and Democratic convention based on the population of that state. As these political fronts of candidates roll into the states, they bring with them high pressure. This high pressure is caused by the fact that candidates are competing for each state's delegates through primary elections or open party caucuses. In a primary election, registered Democrats and Republicans go to the polls and vote for the candidate they would like their party to nominate for president. At a caucus, local party members hold a kind of convention to nominate a candidate. The candidates who build up the most votes in the primaries and caucuses will see the most delegates rain down on them at the convention and thus gain the party's nomination. Let's take a look at the political radar for a moment. We've got a major election front moving in January. See, that's when the primaries and caucuses begin. We'll see this system hover over the country through early June.
You know, I don't think this mic is working.
Hello? Hello?
In the early leg of the race for president, momentum was key, not only to getting media coverage, but to be able to keep raising campaign funds. Senator Demi Kratt and her campaign manager, General Winfield, trained relentlessly for Iowa's open party caucus.
Now listen up, sister. I want to see you shaking hands. I want to see you kissing babies. I want to see you eating pancakes. Better yet, I want to see you making those pancakes. From here, it's on to New Hampshire. We win here, soldier, and the press is going to give us more coverage. And more people are going to support this campaign. Now drop and give me 20.
Each of the candidates spent a good deal of time there, speaking to civics groups and at town hall meetings.
All right, now, I'm not a farmer, but I know farmers. And I'm a big fan of corn. Now,
I feel your pain and yours. I feel your pain and yours too. I feel your pain. I feel everyone's pain. Yes, I feel the pain. Yes.
I ran a successful business. I don't see why running a country should be so different.
Farmers are the backbone of this great country. You know it, I know it, and the American people know it.
What I'm saying is, you put up some oil wells here in Iowa, and I'll show you a cash crop.
This just in, the latest from the Iowa Open Party Caucus. In the Republican heat, Grant Old Party and Josh Thompson run a nail-biter of a race, finishing almost in a dead heat. The two will be splitting the state's Republican delegates to the convention. Mady Fortune finished a distant third. In the Democratic race, a surprise come-from-behind win by Barbara Nixon. Weeks of relentless campaigning in Iowa finally paid off. She edged out frontrunner Demi Kratt.
Yeah, I think this I feel your pain thing really worked.
And Texan Slick Oil Well also made an unexpectedly strong showing. His talk of trading in crops for oil wells struck a chord with area farmers.
And you know something? I like to drill so much, sometimes I think I should have been a dentist.
But there was no time to rest on laurels. Candidates had only days to prepare for the New Hampshire primary the first week of February. This was an especially crucial race for Demi Kratt and Mady Fortune. A candidate who fails to do well in one of these early votes can still survive, but a bad showing in both will likely bring a campaign to a standstill.
I don't want you to serve those pancakes, sister. I want you to deliver them, door to door. I want you to kiss a baby at each and every door and give them 10 good reasons why they should vote for you. Not one reason less. Do you hear me, sister?
Sir, yes, sir!
What I'm saying is, if I can make myself rich, I can make America rich.
The pressure was on for Governor Thompson and Grant Old Party as well. With no clear frontrunner, the choice for the Republican nomination was still wide open. The two competitors were forced to turn up the heat in New Hampshire.
Not only would I cut your taxes as president of these great United States, but if you had a really hard time paying what little was left, I would set up a taxpayer relief fund for the great men and women of this country to help them pay their taxes.
I'm just wondering which great men and women of this great nation Mr. Old Party plans to tax to pay for the tax relief. Huh? Who? You?
And with that, the candidates were off. Governor Thompson sailed through New Hampshire and then Delaware, but he lost big in North Carolina and days later in Arizona.
Come on, it's not funny anymore. Hello?
A victory in Michigan stemmed the air that seemed to be leaking out of Thompson's early momentum, but no such luck for May D. Fortune. She barely registered with voters in New Hampshire, Delaware, or North Carolina. Another big loss in Arizona forced a difficult decision.
At this time, I would like to announce that I am withdrawing from seeking the Republican nomination for president. Are you happy now? I'm taking my tiara and going home.
In the Democratic race, Demi Pratt rebounded in New Hampshire, aided no doubt by a scandal that rocked Barbara Nixon's campaign. Nixon, who had made the feeling of the voters' pain the mainstay of her political platform, suffered a huge dip in the polls. When it came to light, she had been undergoing regular dental work that required large doses of pain-numbing medication, and in fact felt no pain at all.
What I meant to say is I understand your pain. I don't feel it because, well, you know, I'm numb, but I understand your pain, you know? I understand.
Slick Oilwell's campaign was faltering as well. His oil for crops idea didn't sell with New Hampshire voters. His campaign could either borrow money and hope to do better in later races, or quit now.
Maybe America just isn't ready for a Texas-sized dose of common sense. So I'm heading back to the range.
But the biggest test for the candidates left in the race was yet to come. For March 7th marked Super Tuesday, the race that would make or break most of the candidates' bid for their party's nomination. 11 states hold their primaries on this day. Winning the primaries of Super Tuesday pretty much guarantees the candidate will win his or her party's nomination. Republican Governor Josh Thompson looked promising going into the race, but a pre-race revelation threatened to knock him out of the competition. A newspaper published pictures of Thompson at his New Mexico home, being served by a green butler. Thompson was forced to admit the creature is an illegal alien and had worked for him for several years.
I didn't know Quark was here illegally. Thank you, Quark. That'll be all for now.
Thompson's political coaches struggled to do damage control, a job made extremely difficult given that one of the main thrusts of Thompson's campaign was his promise to secure the United States borders and stop the entry of illegal aliens into this country.
Quark? Quark's more of a family member than an employee. Down to the right. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's perfect. Now, how about refreshing this drink there, green guy, huh? What?
On your mark, get set, go! Grant Old Party takes an early lead, clearing California, New York, Ohio, Massachusetts. Look at him go! Governor Thompson is far behind. Oh, and he continues to stumble in Georgia and Missouri. Thompson clears Maryland and Vermont, but it's not enough because there goes Old Party over Connecticut, Maine, and Rhode Island. Old Party's done it, ladies and gentlemen. He has won Super Tuesday and clinched the Republican Party's nomination.
My opponent ran a good race, but ultimately, I think the American people want a president that says what he means and means what he says. Know what I mean?
To the Democrats, and they're off. Democrat running an aggressive race. Look at her practically shoving Barbara Nixon off the track with her easy victories in California, New York, Ohio, and Massachusetts. Folks, it looks like a clean sweep. She's taking Georgia, Missouri, Maryland, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Nixon hasn't managed to clear a single hurdle. This has been an incredible race.
I feel some pain now.
You like me! You really like me! Woo-wee! Yeah!
Let's take a look at the national forecast, shall we? At this point, we can safely predict that both Grant Old Party and Democrat will be the Republican and Democratic nominees for president. There are other primaries and caucuses, but both Democrat and Grant Old Party have already won enough delegates to secure their party's presidential nomination.
March 8th brought two very expected announcements.
I would like to thank all those who worked so hard for the dream.
But it is not a dream to which I can lay claim to any longer.
So it is with regret that I announce
My withdrawal from the presidential race.
all I ask of my supporters is now that they support Democrat.
I'd like to apologize for getting caught, and I'd like all my supporters to now support Grant Old Party.
Could we get someone to look at this? I really don't think it's working. Hello?
As predicted, Democrat and Grant Old Party sailed through the rest of the primaries with easy victories. The candidates could now turn their attention toward the national conventions and competing against each other rather than people from their own parties.
It's very simple, really. Our racers began training here at least 6 months before the primaries and caucuses. The primaries kicked off in January and ended in early June. In July and August, the Republicans and Democrats hold national conventions and nominate their candidate for president and vice president. The election is on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
In late July, the Republicans held their national convention. Grant Old Party named the person he wanted to be his vice president.
I can assure you, with Elefant by my side, we'll restore trust and decency to the White House.
Delegates to the convention officially nominated Old Party and his running mate as their candidates for president and vice president.
Mr. Chairman, the 162 delegates of the great state of California proudly nominate Grant Old Party and Elefant to be the next president and vice president of the United States. Yay!
The main goal of the convention was not only to unite the party behind Old Party, but also behind the party's platform. The platform is a set of policies that members agree Republicans will pursue if elected to office.
And I stand before you today proud to be a Democrat and proud to be your nominee for president of these great United States.
In August, the Democrats followed suit, naming Democrat as their nominee for president and her chosen running mate, Don Key, as the Democratic nominee for vice president. The race for president was officially down to 3 contenders: Republican Grant Old Party, Democrat Democrat, and Green Party candidate Mike Wallace. With the race down to just 3 candidates, the gloves came off and the competitors hit each other hard with criticism. The hundreds of millions of dollars the candidates raised for their campaigns were now paying for waves of television ads that harshly criticized each other. Many of the issues adopted by the parties in their national conventions got lost in the crossfire of personal attacks. Opinion polls showed Democrat and Old Party to be running neck and neck. As time went on without a clear leader, the two became more daring in their attacks on each other.
Grant Old Party says he wants to bring honesty and decency back to the White House. But where was that honesty and decency when he ditched gym class in the 7th grade? Not once, but 5 times. Where did he go instead of gym class? To hang out with criminals, drug dealers, We'll never know because Grant Old Party isn't saying. Demi Kratt had perfect attendance in her gym class. We know where she was, and it wasn't hanging out with criminals. Vote Demi Kratt for president, the person you don't have to wonder about.
Demi Kratt says you don't have to wonder about her. Does that go for her hair color? It seems Demi Kratt doesn't have something to hide. She has hundreds of things to hide. Gray hairs. Is she ashamed of her natural color? Or biased against our treasured older Americans? Grant Old Party isn't afraid or ashamed of his gray hair. Does America really need a person in the White House more concerned with hiding their real hair color than the good of the country? Vote Grant Old Party. Honest about his hair color. Honest about everything.
In October, the candidates met in a series of debates that aired nationally on television. By now, Demi Kratt and Old Party's campaigns had spent an astronomical amount of money trying to convince voters to make them the next president. Mike Wallace had spent considerably less. As the candidate of a third party, his campaign was having a tough time not only raising money, but getting media attention. Political odds makers were not giving Wallace much hope for victory.
I'm telling you, Wallace might as well be running for a brick wall. Odds of him winning this race, 1,000,000 to 1.
Hey, the bottom line is our political system is a game meant for two teams and two teams only. Team Republican or Team Democrat.
Now look, you're not revealing any big mystery. All you got to do is look at Congress and the White House. Everyone there is wearing either a Republican or a Democrat jersey.
Well, we know that, but what we don't know is why.
Speak for yourself. It has to do with our game rules. We pick our leaders through plurality voting in single-member districts.
Plurality schmorality.
Yeah, plurality schmorality this. Only one candidate can win in each district, and he or she wins by a plurality of the vote. All you have to do to win a plurality is to get more votes than any of the other candidates. Compare that to winning a majority of the vote, which is to win more than 50% of the votes cast. You can win a plurality with a measly 40% or less. You just got to beat everyone else.
Well, what does that have to do with why Mike Wallace and his Green Party are doomed to fail?
You want me to draw out the game plan for you? Fine. There are 435 congressional districts in the United States, and let's say the Green Party candidates across the country receive 20% of the vote in each of the 435 races. So here, here, here. There are all the green jerseys all over the field. But the Green Party would not win 20% of the seats in Congress. They wouldn't win any of the seats at all because none of the candidates placed first in any of the races. Without a first place win, you're just sitting on the bench. The winners in each race will be the major party, the Republicans or Democrats, who received the largest number of votes. So all we see are red and blue jerseys on the field. So third parties have an extremely hard time even making it into the game. They spend most of their time warming the bench, fetching water, and doing a cheer from time to time.
Okay. But in Europe, they have all sorts of parties running the show. What in tarnations with that?
Wake up! They play by different rules there. Most of the European democracies use proportional representation. That means parties win seats in the legislatures based on their share of the popular vote. So even puny, third-string parties have a lot of incentive to organize and compete for power. A lot of times the bigger political parties have to team up with the smaller factions to stay in control of the game. I mean, the government.
Because of our game rules here in the good old USA, Republicans and Democrats must always attract majority support. If either party moves too close to running out of bounds, gets too extreme on some issues, they lose the support of the crowd and maybe even control the game, the government. Well, then it's straight for the loser's locker room for them. That's why you see both teams, the Republicans and Democrats, always playing near the center of the field.
What you're saying is Mike Wallace and just about any other third-party candidate running for president shouldn't be buying one-way tickets to D.C.?
You're darn tootin'.
Hey, I resent that.
Truth hurts.
Well, we'll just see about that, won't we?
Yeah, buddy. You'll be hugging trees and the bench election night. You'll lose big time.
That brings us to the big race tonight. Here, just minutes before the race, Grant Old Party and Democrat still neck and neck in the polls. Who will win this race is anybody's guess. Except we know Mike won't win.
Hey, I'm right here. I can still hear you.
Sorry.
Dana, can you explain how the race will work tonight?
Absolutely. Voters in every state will head to the polls and cast their ballots. Now here's the tricky part. Voters tonight are not voting directly for the person they want to be president. In actuality, they're voting for groups of electors in the Electoral College. For more on that, let's go live to Judy Bewildered. Judy?
Dana, I'm standing here in front of the Electoral College, and strangely enough, there is no activity to report. I haven't seen anybody studying, and I can't find one single student here at the Electoral College at all.
The Electoral College is not a school. It doesn't have a campus or students or professors.
What kind of degree are you going to get at a school with, no professors?
The Electoral College is not really a college. It's the formal electing body of the President and Vice President of the United States.
Gee, Dana, I knew you were always really competitive with me, but to try to sabotage me on election night is really low.
This isn't sabotage, Judy. Look, each state picks its own electors. They have the same number of electors as they have representatives in Congress. Let's take a look at Texas. It has 2 senators and 30 congressional seats. Therefore, Judy, how many electors would it have?
32?
Right.
Okay, but what about Washington, D.C.? Don't they get any electors?
Yes, they get 3. In nearly all the states, the candidate who wins the most votes in the state takes all the electors from that state. There are 538 electors total. To win the presidency, a candidate must win a majority of the country's electoral votes. In this case, at least 270. Each state picks its electors in its own way depending on local laws. But typically, Democrats and Republicans will hold state conventions and vote for their electors.
Okay, but they have to be professors, right?
They can be anything.